right now.
Race in the room.
Neil here.
Hey, Neil. Hi, Neil.
Hey. Hi, Neil. Hello. Hi, Neil. Hello. Hello.
So we have Jamie in right here, Brad on the phone, Sharon,
Yep.
Bob Dietrich, Todd Edwards, Neil Golub, and Steve Reifenberg. Paul Webster popped in. Mike Angelosi. I know Nancy and Karen are not here today.
And Jennifer and David are here as well.
Yep.
Thank you. We want to welcome everyone to the April 14th meeting of our Board of Directors at Metroplex. The meeting is being broadcast by YouTube on our Metroplex website and also by WebEx. If people wanted to make comments, they're welcome to join us by WebEx. We do have Peter DeBola from the Times Union who is joining us by WebEx. And we welcome the board members who are on by Metroplex conference calls number. We hope that with the vaccines proceeding that we can move back to face-to-face meetings maybe as soon as next month, and we'll look for everyone's input on that and get your opinions and thoughts. And we can discuss that as we get closer to our next meeting or the June meeting. Tonight, we begin with the approval of the minutes of the March 31st meeting. I need a motion. If you could identify yourself.
Sharon.
Thank you. And Neil made the motion. Any comments, corrections, suggestions on the minutes? Seeing none, we'll ask for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Thank you. We'll note that the minutes have been approved. Karen is off tonight. We wish her a Godspeed. Her husband is getting surgery tomorrow, so we'd ask everyone to keep Karen ZW in their thoughts and prayers as her husband gets surgery tomorrow. And so we'll ask Jamie to provide the treasury report.
Thank you, Brad. So our position is good through the first 3 months of the year. The sales tax, which is listed at $2 million, it's an accrual. I think by the next meeting, we'll start showing the actual amounts. We had a good January payment, and the next sales tax payment is coming in at the end of this week or early next week. So that part of it should shape up pretty well. Overall, we're doing fine on our expenses for the first 3 months of the year. The one noteworthy is the auditing fees, which you'll see have we've been billed heavily for both our audit and our accounting fees in the first 3 months of the year. So we're a little over budget on our operating expenses, but not by much. And our cash position is at $4,676,000, which is the best it's been in more than a year and a half. So we're in good cash position, and it's reflected in the projects that we have on the agenda today. The pre-development budget is very manageable at this part of the year. Not a lot of activities, but we're hoping things will pick up once a DRI announcement comes out by the governor's office. And we have our open projects report, and Ray and I can answer any questions you might have about those.
So can I get a motion to accept the treasury report?
So moved.
Brad made the motion. I need a second.
Second. Sharon.
Thank you. And again, as Jamie noted, we're a little over with the operating expenses only because the audit expenses hit because we completed the audit, and it'll level out for the balance of the year. We're right on plan, and on the pre-development side, we're in great shape as well. Any comments or questions? Is Maureen on the phone as well?
Thank you.
Thank you for your help, Maureen. I just want to, again, thank you for your help with putting all these reports together with Jamie.
Oh, good.
Any questions or comments?
Seeing no.
Yep.
Brady, as we move on, there was major statement under the major bills public this past week. That's some resistance said that the real estate, this past week about facilities and stuff. Do you have the detail on what that is?
I'm having a little hard time hearing you, but you were saying there was a question about facilities and Schenectady. I'm not following you.
Let me start again. So there was a report in a real estate publication.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, Realtor.com put out a report that was widely covered around the country and was covered by CNBC that lists the 10 best places to for first-time home buyers. 10 best cities for first-time home buyers, and Schenectady came in 7th place. And it was a very favorable report. I actually had friends and family members send it to us from all parts of the country. So that was a very favorable report, and we thank you for pointing that out. Any questions or comments on the treasurer's report? If none, we'll call the question on that report. All those in favor say aye. Thanks. Any opposed? Thank you. Tonight we have a series of resolutions and some good projects for our community. The first one, we'll ask Jim to summarize at 411 State.
Right, the first project is at 411 State Street, which we all know is houses the Paul Mitchell School. The owner of the property is the Gillespie Group, one of their real estate holding companies. They've made a request to us to establish a 5-year pilot at $25,000 through 2026. The building, as you know, has had extensive renovations. It's one of the first projects that Ray worked on when he came here, getting the old vacant Family Dollar store, buying it from Metroplex, turning it over to the Gillespie Group. They invested over $4 million into the property, including Paul Mitchell School. It's been a big success. But there are issues with the top 2 floors haven't been leased in a while. Gillespie's looking for some tax stability and certainty in these sort of uncertain times for commercial real estate. We have been working with Paul Mitchell School. They were closed for a while, reopened, have been paying their rent. So things are getting better from our perspective, but we do not think this is an unreasonable request on their part. So we're looking for adoption of the project plan for a pilot that would go into effect this year.
A motion on this, please, and a second.
I move, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. Any a second?
Second, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. You know, we've done a few of these items where we're kind of doing some pandemic relief. The school was forced to close last year due to the pandemic. They reopened, and as Jamie said, their enrollment is doing well. They're a great addition to downtown. This was a dollar store that paid almost nothing in taxes. It was a very depressed building. It was a closed dollar store, one of the 2 closed dollar stores that we had downtown when we took over in 2004. And it paid a paltry amount in taxes. The 25 is a very good number. And we'd ask the board to support this. You know, if that number were to jump up right now, it would be difficult for the school, as all schools, colleges, trade schools are struggling with this pandemic that we've all lived through the last year together. So that's the reason for this requirement. Any further discussion? See, we'll call the question. Thank you, Neil. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move down to South Church Street right now and ask Jamie to give us an update on resolution 1466-21.
Right, so our next 2 projects kind of go hand in glove together, reconstructing South Church Street and then an adjoining parking lot that's controlled by the community college. On both cases, we do need to hold a public hearing, so that's what the resolution is about. The first project here is to rebuild South Church Street from State Street to Fuller, which is just above Erie Boulevard. Some of this was stimulated by the city changing South Church Street one way from State Street to Erie Boulevard, which we think is overdue and necessary in support of the Frog Alley project and the whole Mill Lane development. Helps people get to really where they need to go down in that area. As you know, that's been a transformational project on Lower State Street. The big part of this project is it would create more than 30 parking spaces, on-street parking spaces. We're working with the city to cover new paving, new curbing, some new lighting, security cameras in the area. The work should be done by the end of the year, but we've got a few steps to take. First is holding the public hearing. We go out to bid later in April, open the bids in May, and then come back to the board in June. We are a little concerned about the total project cost at 1.16 million. That is the engineer's estimate. You know, we certainly hear a lot about the rising costs of materials, particularly wood, steel, asphalt. So we're not really sure what kind of results we'll get from the bidding, but that's why we do it, and we'll get the lowest price that we can. So this budget may be adjusted when we come back to the board again in either May or in June.
May I have a motion on this, please?
I so move, Sharon.
Thank you. Second by Neil. You know, again, this area of downtown is seeing a lot of development, the $40 million mill project, the $20 million makeover of the old YMCA, Gateway Park or Gateway Plaza. You know, the film development of a film studio at the Armory, the Electric City Apartments, and we can go on and on. We asked the city to go to open up this South Church Street corridor. You couldn't take a left turn here. We're getting that changed at the red light, so you can go left and into this street, which services these. I forgot to mention that I think it was an $11 million student housing project, private development that we did down there. It opens up all of those sites for better access and parking. And the next resolution, our next project deals with this as well. So we're seeing a lot of action down here. A lot of positive development that continued despite the pandemic. And we need to dress up this area, clean it up, install the lights, cameras. The look that we've established for the rest of downtown needs to carry forward into this corridor, as well as the security cameras, which cover a bulk of the downtown. So we're asking for everyone's support and happy to answer any questions.
Looks like a nice deal.
Thank you. Yeah, we worked hard on this. I want to thank Jamie and the staff for getting us to this point, and we'll keep the board closely informed and the public as we move forward. We had great cooperation from the mayor and the city council in making this street accessible again, and we're happy to move this forward. Any other comments or questions?
It's worth mentioning that the utilities have been great to work with on this so far. A lot of the poles are going to get removed. A lot of them will be underground. So it's really going to make that area look good. It needs all the help it can get.
Yeah,
It really needs a complete makeover, and this project's going to go a long way.
yeah, that's a good point. National Grid has been really cooperative.
When would you expect the project to be open?
We would expect that it should be done by the early fall. And with the next project on the parking, which we'll talk about in a minute, the college would certainly like to see the parking lot done by September for the new school year.
Question. Any other comments or questions? Thank you. We'll move this forward if we can with a call the question. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We'll next continue with our efforts to add parking and beautify the area, the Lower State Street area, with resolution 1467-19, -21. That's a typo there. Agenda. We'll fix that. Thank you.
Again, the resolution calls for holding a public hearing. These are two parking areas that are owned by Schenectady County, used by the community college. Now that SUNY SCCC has leased space in the Mill District project for their confectionery and brewing programs, which will really get going in earnest in August and September. Looking to approve the parking for faculty, staff, and students, of course. So this is kind of at the base of South Church Street. The board had approved this back in November of 2019. You'll see from the main reason that we're coming back is that the costs appear to have risen. Again, these are the engineer's estimates, so it's much higher. but it will create over 40 parking spaces. We do need to hold a public hearing first, again, go up to bid, and then open the bid to come back to the board later on. So again, the budget may change. We're hoping that we'll get good costs and good pricing, and this will be lower. And SUNY Schenectady would be reimbursing us for the expenses through financing and funding that they've secured through the SUNY system and through the dormitory authority. So again, it'll clean it up. It's a nice project. We've been working with SUNY Schenectady now for several weeks on the design. So it's a real enhancement to the area.
I have a motion on this.
So moved. Fuller.
Thank you. Second.
Second, Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. As Jamie said, more parking, more beautification at South Church. I neglected earlier to mention the seat center down there, which has also put a tremendous amount of money into their building, which is behind the bus station. Again, a lot of activity in that area. This opens up parking nights, weekends, days for use by the college. It's right in front of the Armory. So hopefully we get another film production going into the Armory. This area can be accessed by the producers and folks involved with the film production, TV show production. It's a very important addition to our parking system downtown, and that's what we're doing on South Church with the previous resolution. Happy to answer any questions or get any comments on this.
Yeah, guys, I have a question. Looking at the map from South Church Street, as we move down from State Street down to Erie Boulevard, is this property on the right side, right as you come into Erie Boulevard?
It's in the middle of the page on the right side. So as you move down, if you move down from State Street, yeah, it's on the right side as you move down South Church toward Erie.
Is it right adjacent to the Zone 5 building?
No, it doesn't go down that far. If you're on the map, Neil, where you see the word south for South Church Street, that's really where the parking area is, where the word south is.
Okay. Well, I was trying to fit it there because it looks like on the South Church Street, somebody's phone is open. It looks like it. Okay, but it's in the middle. Okay.
Yep. You see the college apartments, the Armory with the black roof, Fuller Street. It's right on the right side. It's a pretty nice sized lot. For those of you who go back away in Schenectady, the Seat Center building used to be the Robert Hall store going back many years. You might remember that, Neil. So it's right behind what used to be the Robert Hall. And now I'm really dating myself. But
you got to be around for a while to see that one.
Yeah, that's right. I'm with you. So it was the Robert Hall clothing store, now the Seat Center, and it's that big parking area right where do you see the word South Church? Good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board on this resolution?
Yeah, this is Brad, just a kind of common question. When we were doing State Street, we essentially also got a complete map of what was actually under the street. And I remember David, going through all of this. Is this also a situation in which we're going to end up essentially with all of the ability, if we end up changing something down there, that we're basically going to have redone all the utilities and everything. So essentially, it would actually be easily also to, if there are other changes that there.
It's actually a fairly simple project, Brad, in that it's kind of a mill and pave. It's not a complete reconstruction, and then working with the utilities. There's hardly any electrical that's really down there, and that's why the poles get removed. And then Spectrum, Verizon, they just want conduits put in. So you just dig a trench, throw in the conduit, and they'll be able to extend things as they need it. So I don't think we're going to run into really any unforeseen conditions like we did on on Lower State Street.
There are no huge vaults, under the street like we have on Lower State. That's a very good point, Brad. We've run all the utility information and had great cooperation from Grid. So it's a less complex underground project than State Street was.
Yeah, okay. That was what I was, because it seems like if we're going to do this, we got some big benefits out of essentially fixing the whole thing. But if this is, at least sets it up so it would be easy to do something like that, that makes a lot of sense.
If you drive down there, you really see a lot of telephone poles, grid poles that you don't see in the rest of downtown because the utilities are underground. And they're very dated looking, and they're not very attractive. So most of those go away, which really is going to clean up the area and make it look more modern and nicer. Good question. Any other comments from the board on any issue related to this project? Seeing none, we'll call the question. You go ahead.
Just a question, didn't we approve expenditure for this garage?
Sorry, you were breaking up on me, Neil.
I'm sorry, I think the parents for somebody's open line, did expenditure recently for the garage?
No, we haven't moved on to the garage project yet.
We have a garage item in a couple of minutes. Talking about the Metroplex garage?
Yeah, I thought we approved a big expenditure for that recently.
We have that on our agenda in a couple of minutes. We've invested quite a bit in the garage over the last few years, but we have another item tonight. So we can hang on that for a minute. We'll come back to that shortly. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to the garage. Your timing is exquisite. Resolution 1468-21, dealing with the garage stairwells.
Members of the governance committee will remember our report on the assessment of the garage that was completed in January. We do these assessments every few years. And while the report overall is good, shows that the whole facility is in good and safe condition, there were suggestions about making some repairs, that we're focusing on the stairwells within the garage. There are 5 stair towers. 4 of them are external, 1 is internal. And what we're proposing to do is do some general cleanup work of repairing stairs, undergoing some painting, replacing railings, fixing the fire-rated doors that are there. Many are very rusted out and don't work too well. And you'll see the engineer's estimate from MJ Engineering. Again, their estimate, I think, is on the high side at $240,000. But we also think this is a good time to proceed. The garage is at a fair low level of activity because SCCC is not using their classroom space right now. State workers aren't back. So from my perspective, it's a great time to go in, do a lot of this work, really improve the appearance of the stairwells when everyone comes back to work, hopefully within a few months. So the budget is $240,000, and we would be able to bid this out, come back to the board in another month or so, and get the work started during the summer.
Need a motion on this, please?
Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. A second? Thank you, Brad. As Jamie noted, we are very proud of the garage. We think we do a good job running it. Years ago, the city ran the garage, and we think we've made dramatic improvements since we purchased the garage. We continue to invest in the garage on a regular basis. There are other parts of the capital region where there are downtown garages that the media have reported on, major problems, and they've had to shut down for periods of time. That is not the case in Schenectady. We regularly invested in the upkeep and the maintenance of the garage. I believe the last project, Jamie, was signage and lighting.
That's right. We did the outdoor signage. We did some interior lighting and landscaping.
We put the new message board out front and really made it look nice from an exterior point of view. As Jamie said, we need to dress up the stairwells and fix them. Now is a good time. So we're asking the board to move forward on this so that we keep our garage in a state of excellent repair, and it's a busy place, especially post-COVID. We'll have hopefully more folks coming back on the office side, and we'll present them with a very new and improved garage, nicely improved garage. Somebody needs to mute their phone if you can. Thank you. Any comments or questions on this project to improve our Metroplex garage? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Thank you. Any opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, that measure has been adopted. Next, we'll move to two items dealing with environmentally contaminated properties and some action we're taking to deal with them. And would ask Jamie to summarize Resolution 1469-21.
So thanks to our attorneys at White Nasser and Hannah, they've made a connection for us with New York State DEC on ways to deal with environmental issues on sites that are under tax foreclosure, either by the city or the county. And it's a way for us to kind of better identify potentially developable sites, and then working with DEC, get them cleaned up and be able to put them back on the tax roll. The way it's been done in a few other communities, and we're one of the first in the state, is through a cooperation agreement with DEC, with the oil spill fund, the comptroller's office, and we would partner with the land bank in the city and county of Schenectady to all sign on to this agreement, where we identify a bunch of properties, and then we're able to work with DEC on potential cleanup. It's a good step forward. Good kind of a good government type of approach to moving ahead that would give us a window into potentially cleaning up a variety of sites throughout the area. We're familiar with some sites already that we think would fit well into this program. It's a 4-year term. We still need to get the consent of the land bank, city, and the county, but we'll move ahead on that right away and be able to get this in going with DEC and see what sites we can clean up that otherwise might be very costly to us or to others.
You need a motion on this, please?
Neil, Brad.
Brad, second by Neil. Thank you. As Jamie said, there are properties that the land bank has dealt with, that Metroplex has dealt with, zombie properties where foreclosure is imminent or foreclosure is warranted. But there's a concern about environmental liability if the city or the county or a town, moves forward and there is a foreclosure. That property then becomes owned by the municipality, and the municipality is then responsible for a environmental cleanup. So instead, what happens often around the country and around the state is the properties do not get developed and do not get sold and put back on the tax rolls because of the concern about environmental liability. Even the idea, the issue of environmental testing is an issue. So what this innovative program is allows us to, and again, ask somebody to be on mute if you can. If you're not speaking, if you could put your phone on mute, I'd really appreciate it because we're getting a lot of feedback. Thank you. But anyway, in any case, what it does is it allows a period of time and a shield of, from the liability for us to go in with our teams at the Land Bank and Metroplex to do the environmental testing that we're quite good at, we're very familiar with, look at the asbestos, look at any oil tanks, look at any contamination in the soil, look at what the cost of that would be, and then figure out a future for that property, figure out a way to, hopefully cover the cost of that with a land sale or a building sale and move the property back into a useful life, into productive use. So we're happy to partner with the state on this, as a couple of other communities have done, and we'd ask for the board's support, and we're happy to answer any questions. No questions? We'll move the question. We'll call the question then. All those in favor of Resolution 1469-21, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next up, we go to Edison Avenue downtown, and this is a property that is very much in line with what our discussion was on this last resolution, so we'd ask Jamie to give us an update.
Right, so this is a property at 133 Edison Avenue. It's right across the street from Prettles. A quarter acre property with a 21,000 square foot building on it. Again, this is going through the tax foreclosure process with the city, but because of concerns about the environmental contamination on the site, the city's not proceeding with the completing the foreclosure. So what we've agreed with the city is that they're able to assign this property to us or provide us with a purchase agreement. And we're making the assumption that we're going to find a private developer to come in and work with us, clean up the property and put it back into use. So we're kind of a middleman on this. This resolution gives us the authorization to accept a title or assignment from the city, and we'll be able to move it like we do so many properties over the years and work with a private developer to get it back on the tax roll.
So need a motion on this, please?
I so moved, Sharon.
Thank you. Any second?
Second, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. You know, as Jamie said, we have a great track record in working on these environmental properties. I remember a previous elected official, who I won't name, said that the Alco site would never be cleaned up and redeveloped, and how wrong they were. But this is another one that we're looking to take on. Again, it's the same situation we talked about in the last resolution. A property that's in limbo, it's a zombie property. It's right off the main entranceway to downtown. It's a fairly large building at 21,000 square feet. We have interest from folks who we believe we can sell this building to, get it back into productive use, get it rehab, get it back on the tax rolls. And the issue is what's there? What are the environmental issues? So we're able to work with this new program and with our Metroplex powers and duties and take a look at the environmental conditions, use drilling or other test techniques that are necessary. Use ground penetrating radar to determine if there are any tanks in the ground, and come up with a environmental cleanup solution at a cost, most importantly. And then if those things look good, close on the purchase and then close on a sale to a new private owner that would take this property and renovate it. So we're excited to move this forward. This is a problem property. It's right near the gateway into our community, and we're pleased to be able to move this forward. Want to thank Jamie and David and the city, who's been very, very cooperative. The city attorney, Andrew Colvin, has been working with us on this, and our own attorneys as well. So happy to answer any questions on this if you have any.
Do you have let's put it this way, we are at the point where we have a demand for some real estate that for a number of years wouldn't have been there. Do you think that this one has pretty reasonable, because of the location, among other things, that it has some real prospects for the...
Yes, we have people interested in buying and redeveloping this property, putting it back on the tax rolls. They wouldn't buy it because they don't know what the environmental conditions are. And so what we're doing here is we're going in and doing that testing and determining the cost of the cleanup, if any. And again, there may be none. We just don't know. And we get in there, clean it up, and then we don't like the whole property. We want to move it back to the private developers, to the private homeowners, as we do in the land bank, and get it back on the tax rolls. And so we have interest in this building, but it's a classic zombie property where they say, we don't know what's there. We don't know what the environmental conditions are. We're not willing to take that liability, so the property is in limbo. We solve that by this innovative approach that we're taking tonight, and we do the testing, determine the cost, and then redevelop the property, sell it and redevelop it. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This cleans up prominent property on Edison Avenue, which is, of course, one of the most prominent people in Schenectady's history. Thomas Edison had a lot of involvement with our community, and this is kind of a forlorn stretch of Edison right now that we hope to clean up as we've done with other properties in that area. Next up is the public comment period. We didn't have any comments sent in. We did post the agenda as we always do. We did not have any questions submitted from the public, nor did we have any requests for members of the public to access the site, the meeting by WebEx. The next section of our meeting is board comment. Any questions or comments from the board on any subjects? This is the time for board members to make comment.
Just to say that I really would emphasize what the staff did for these several months, I think it's stretching to a year, to actually use this time to set up some of these things. And thank you for doing that, because, we have some cash back in the bank, and we also have projects at a time when a lot of people were interested.
Yep, good comment, thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of the pace and the momentum that continues this despite the pandemic, and we hope to be coming out of that. Our next meeting is on May. Somebody help me out with the calendar. 12th. Thank you, Jamie. Always there with the answers. We'll kind of send out an email and see if folks who are been vaccinated want to come back into the office to do that meeting. I think if we can show that and people have been vaccinated, we could try to do at least some of the board members in person. If people want to do that, we'll try to make an accommodation to socially distance and be safe. Any other questions this evening? Comments? Seeing none, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Brian.
Thank you. A second. Somebody make a motion to adjourn. A second, please.
Second, Steve Barron.
Thank you. We'll have Steve make that. Thank you, Steve, for helping us. All those in favor of adjourning and have a good night, say aye. Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you.